Okay, part one. I woke up this morning. I was like, "Oh my God, why did you say you were going to do this? I don't want to do it." And then I had to think about, when we live in a more truthful and embodied way, like old energies in the form of emotions, they rise up to be released, don't they? And I truly think that's what's happening with me, and the right time to speak about things and expressing emotions. It's not always the easiest thing to do. It's going to require me to drop the shields that I've built up and just become completely vulnerable, and also, I think when you express yourself so openly and so honestly, it's asking you to drop the shields, isn't it, around the heart space, and to allow yourself to be fully seen. And this feels very, very exposing. Maybe not the first one, but as we get more into the journey. And it's also asking me to, I guess, just step into a more vulnerable space, in myself, and allow myself to be fully seen for the experience that I'm going to share. And I'm hoping this will resonate with people. And I'm just going to start. I had to look at a time frame today because I feel like it feels like I've been on this journey now, this particular journey, for a very long period of time. And when I checked out the timeline, it started in 2021, not a long time ago, 6 years ago. And I was sat at home on my own watching TV, and it was post-COVID. COVID was still going on, but the initial thing, it wasn't as manic. And I was watching TV, and there was a significant world event happening at the time. And I remember watching the news, and it was like a light switch went on in my head. Something was clicked, and I knew at that point that what I was hearing and seeing was not reality. And I remember being on my own all day and being in that place of complete cognitive dissonance within myself, like not being able to make sense of what was happening inside of me. I have a lot of hindsight now, and I can see this was the beginning of my spiritual awakening, which has been a very layered process. It hasn't just been one spiritual awakening, but this was my initiation, so to speak, of my spirit suddenly understanding that I'm going to speak really honestly, and a lot of people aren't going to identify with this, but I think some of you will. I remember just being in complete confusion about what was happening in me as a result of the information that I just received. It was like somebody did an information dump into me. And my ex-husband came home. We were married at the time, and I remember telling him about what I'd experienced, and then going from that point on a journey of rabbit hole after rabbit hole. I was like a sponge. I wanted to seek more information about the world around me initially, because I didn't at that point have the understanding that I was going through a spiritual awakening. I didn't make that connection. I just knew that everything had shifted. massively and dramatically within me and externally to me. So I went on this quest, and I think it was the first time in my life that I really started to critically think about everything, not just around me but in me. Like, really started to think about the programming, the conditioning that had taken place in my life. And I sought information from alternative sources, and one rabbit hole would take me to another one and another one. And the thing is, everything I started to learn about, I really identified with. There were some things, don't get me wrong, I've got an itchy eye. There were some things that, my God, they felt too hard, too unbelievable to believe. And I can remember, because I was like a sponge absorbing things, I can remember thinking, I need to take a break. And I did many times. I had to take a break, and it was very difficult to find people to talk to as well about what I was going through, because I very quickly began to understand when I'd go out to meet up with friends and go for coffee and things, I was beginning to have that experience of just not being on the same frequency as other people energetically or intellectually. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I was in a different place to other people. The other thing that happened, which was very profound, was I'd started to have my first experience of spiritual warfare. And I want to make it very clear that if you're listening to this video and you do know me, I'm not going to mention names of people or places, and I would really appreciate if you do leave a comment that you don't do that either. I want to be very mindful and respectful of other people. But I had my first encounters with spiritual warfare, and I understand now why that happened. At the time I didn't. And my experience was that in an environment that I was working in, there was a lot of people there that were operating from a real place of darkness, that were very manipulative, would gaslight. There was a lot of dishonesty, and I became increasingly frustrated in having my voice heard about what I was experiencing and seeing, which was truth, from my perspective obviously, but there were truthful, factual events taking place around me, and nothing was being done. I felt like I wasn't being heard, and I was being dismissed a lot of the time, until it became more than apparent what was going on, and interventions were then put in place. But I can see that now, as I had been jolted into this spiritual awakening that I was completely unaware of. I knew something had significantly changed in me, and the spiritual warfare immediately started to take place. And that is there, the experience I've had around spiritual warfare is it comes in to distract me and take me away from the path that I'm on and the opportunity that I have to share with other people. I'm aware I'm running out of time. This is a 10-minute video, so I don't want to go on for much longer. But this will continue tomorrow. I'll do a part 2. And yeah, thanks for listening. The journey continues.